There we go. Now it should be solid.
Mic check, mic
Yep,
check.
I got you.
Okay. Turn it off now. Do we get going?
Yeah, if you want to turn it off until then.
Yeah, probably. Okay. Yep, I'm live, I think. Okay, we'll just wait for him. Cool. Ready to roll? One more.
Whatever they decide. And I said, because I said, if the Ponca City will win and we decide with Ponca City and us on that, then it's something maybe, but it still won't affect us. Because it's totally different. Do what?
Good morning. Different hair.
Yeah.
I like the hair. Different. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Thanks for coming.
It's OTC, 100%.
Cool.
They need to end it. It's archaic. They don't need it.
Took up parking or? Oh, out that way? You know, you can always park up back. There's a back door here. There we go. Okay. Oh, did you walk around? You didn't park on the side. So the back, there's a back door back here. So yes, it is. That's very nice. Great. Well, thank you everybody for coming. We'll get going right here. I think there's some folks coming from traffic, and if you ever come here, just one parking issue. We have a huge parking lot out back, and there's a back door here. So if you haven't done that before, so but there's also a parking lot on the side with a big shade tree. So you just got to walk further. So want to jump right in, and first, let's go around and do some introductions. First of all, thank you for coming. I know the misnomer about educators getting the summer off. I know for superintendents, it's generally the craziest time of year. So between, trying to balance actually having a life with also all the different construction projects and everything else going on. So really, thank you so much. I'm on a mic because we have, is Greg from Hardesty there yet? Okay, morning, Greg. So we're trying to balance out folks that weren't able to make it here physically. Really excited to have folks come here today. We're going to try and do as little as possible talking at people. As former educators, we're not real good at that. We're real good at talking at people. But we want to talk with everyone here today. So first, before we get into everything, why don't we go around, just do a quick introduction. My name's Brent Bushy. I'm the executive director here of the Public School Resource Center. And Andy?
Andy Evans, Finance, Oklahoma Public School Resource Center.
Colin Knight, Cushing Schools.
Melissa Amon, Cushing Schools.
I guess we can go that way. Rick?
Rick Walker, Learning Grove Consortium, working with you guys.
Ray Hilton, Locust Grove.
Ben Parker, I'm the technology director.
I'm Ashley Cooks, and I am a graduate student from Southern Missouri University, and I'm shadowing my superintendent, Ms. Robinson.
Great.
Cecilia Robinson Woods, Millwood.
Richard Brown in public school.
Shannon Grimes, Dover Public Schools.
Shane.
Max Thomas, Chisholm Trail Technology Center.
Jason Sternberger, Kingfisher.
Jay Leonard Raffle Butler.
Russell Nolan, Vacaville Public Schools. Barry Benson, I'm just looking.
Wouldn't admit that.
Ringling School. David Burr, Barnum.
Diane Ferris, Ventnor.
Larry Mills, Valco.
Megan Stanek, the Oklahoma Partnership for Expanded Learning. Terry Thomas, I'm the Legal Services with the Resource Center.
I'm Jeff Pritchard, formerly of Seminole, now with the Resource Center.
Deanne Rose, I'm the Teaching and Learning.
I'm Sarah Julian. I'm Communications Director for OPSRC.
Jean Potter, I'm the Teaching and Learning also.
Great.
And we also have Greg Ferris, who is the Superintendent of Hardesty. He is via live stream.
Yes, indeed. All right. So let's just, briefly what we want to accomplish today. We're going to review what are our objectives today. We're going to talk a little bit just briefly about what is the OPSRC. So I want to give you an overview of our services. We want to do that not as a commercial, but more so that you're aware of all the different services. What we found is a lot of folks have joined for one reason, and then they say, well, why didn't you tell us about all these other services? Want to make sure you're aware of all the different things we're doing. Talk about the last legislative session, and then most importantly, besides lunch, having an open forum and really soliciting feedback from you all. So, Ben likes graphics, so I have to do all these buttons. So we have 3 objectives for today. One, we want to make sure you're aware of what we're up to on our services and solicit your feedback. We want to talk about the past legislative session and the OPSRC's involvement. And then this Rural School Advisory Group, this is the first time that we've met where we've really convened this group. And we want to talk about what's going to be the role. And we want you to tell us how you want to interact with us. So that's part of the open forum and the Q&A. So who is the OPSRC? Well, first of all, we're a nonprofit organization and we're a 501c3. We get to the legislative part, we'll talk about what that means specifically, but it's one thing we like to highlight because it really gets at our mission. How many members do you have? We always get asked. We have 120 public school members, 97 traditional public school districts and 23 charter schools. That doesn't include Max, the career tech, as a member, and we've got a few other weird folks, but 120 of the traditional public schools. In addition to our member dues, we have support from 4 foundations. They're listed up here: Kaiser Family and Schusterman Family out of Tulsa, the Inasmuch Foundation out of Oklahoma City, and the Walton Family Foundation. So I want to give you an overview of what our services are. And for that, I'm going to turn it over first to each of our directors so they can give you an idea of what they're working on as a director. So Andy will wow you with his financial expertise. And talk about probably some wheat farming in there as well.
Well, yeah, if you really want to know about the wheat crop this year, I can probably give you a pretty good idea. Don't buy wheat futures. It's going down. I'm going to be pretty brief today. Out on the table, we prepared this document for you to take home, to look and digest it. My daughter's brilliance at using a spreadsheet. She put in the back pages are everybody in the state's state dedicated revenues, with the exception of school land, because school land isn't paid out till the 25th of the month. Through June 9th, we've got a solid number now on what the total amount of money that was lost within the state dedicated revenues was, and it's rather astounding. It's going to wind up being about 27 million. We had that number in March, and then I went and refigured it and projected it and said 22 million, and I was wrong. I should have stayed with my first number. But we're sitting in the position right now of this is going to be in effect on the formula. On the page in front of the sheets, I'm going back to front. We've got what we're seeing right now is the probable drop in the state aid formula. You can figure this 3 different ways, and one way you can get $210, one way you can get $135, and one way you can get $117. That's with factoring out the textbooks as having to come out as being a loss to state aid. So we're looking at $117. I really think it's going to be more like $135 drop. It's what my bold prediction is. I don't know. We'll see. A lot of the thing that's going to be holding on to that is going to be the number of students that we have enrolled. I really think it's going to be 1,128,000. This year it was 1,123,000. That fits the curve that the state's been following for the past 5 years. The outside number is 1,140,000. If they go to that, it will be 210. I mean, there's no way it won't be. You could probably go and figure on this that you're looking at probably about every 1% drop will be about $18 million. So we're looking at a net total 3% drop. Is what we're really looking at whenever you get down to the real numbers. Not what I want to tell you, but it could be worse. But it could be better. So it's not just particularly fun news to be sharing. The front parts of this will have your graphs on. Yeah, we've got copies out there. The front part of this will give you the graphs on motor vehicle, gross production, so forth and so on. We really saw some strange things in motor vehicle this year, and guys, I hate to break it to you, but I don't see any change in that pattern. What we're seeing is a cyclical pattern where it goes up and down. Now we're exaggerated downward about 5%. The front page of this will give you a pretty good analysis of what we're doing as far as services. Tom Curran is not in here right now, but he's our data guy. He and I work a lot together. We've got the form data sheets, and we will have the current form data sheet that that's on the state aid formula sheet pages. We will have that digitized by later this week. If you need that to try to go and figure out where you're at and what your actual financial situation will be relative to your ad valorem on your chargeables and so forth. We do have that. We will have that available later this week. We're working on a couple of things. Number one, we're working on trying to make a summary data sheet and a financial sheet that will make it easier for you to be able to keep track of your finances. We're trying to set it up on a 3-year or a 5-year basis so you have a cash flow map and an expenditure flow map. Most of you probably already have that, but for some of the less experienced superintendents or for your financial staff, sometimes it's good to have those things so you can at least chart out where you're supposed to be. If you're in a very heavy ad valorem rich district, it is important to know how much money you ought to be getting January 4th and somewhere around March 4th or April 4th. And if you're changing districts, it's vitally important that you have that. We're going to put those all behind the member page. We've got a really pretty good projection page. We're working on an enrollment projection system with the University of Chicago to try to make it to where you can actually project out your enrollment over the next 5 to 8 years based on what your current inputs are. And we also are looking for people to work with us on this summary data sheet. We'd need to be able to be a district agent so that we could download your stuff. We wouldn't be able to change your stuff, but we'd be able to see it. We'd be able to set it up in the graphical forms. We're also working on something else, and this is something that is a little bit outside of finance, but it will affect you if you are in a school smaller than 4A. Bus driver training. We are working with a couple of different guys to try to get them in here to do YouTube videos that have a test at the end, so they have to show that they've got to pass that test to be able to do the YouTube video and to get the credit on that YouTube video. And the biggest thing is, if you got a coach that's coming home at night at 10 o'clock at night, wife texts, "Where are you?" and heaven forbid he gets pulled over, they can tell when that was texted. And if he, heaven forbid, has a wreck, guys, he's going to lose his CDL license for a year, and he's going to get fined pretty well. I would really suggest that you make sure that those are part of your rules that you're having in your professional development. But we're willing to set that up for you. We're willing to come out and do it. But Mr. McVeigh has offered his transportation guy. Randy McLaren's offered to do it. Brad Shepard with Oklahoma Highway Patrol has offered to help us out with this as well. We're going to be developing these over July. If you have some subjects that you would like to see us tackle with your bus drivers, tell us. Same thing with encumbrance clerks and treasurers. And my sheets are out there. Just grab them. I'll be around if you need me to talk about anything with you. One thing I'd watch is the biggest projection right now that I'm seeing is oil price going to drop again. That's not good news. But please be aware of that. That's what the market analysis is saying. So we probably need to be very cautious about what we're doing going into the new year. Does that it?
Any more bad news or bus driving stuff, Andy?
No, I'm a little ray of sunshine. I know that.
Thanks, Andy.
Good morning, everybody. I'm so excited to see a full room of faces. Some of you I've worked with before, some I have not, but I just wanted to give a brief overview of the things that I can provide for you. One of my primary goals as communications director is to ensure that you have all of the help you need to provide the most effective communication possible to your community. You guys know how essential it is to regularly update your stakeholders, including your board members, your staff, your parents, and the general community. So from reviewing your overall communication plan to looking at writing and distributing press releases for you, to dealing with media crises, which is always so much fun, and preparing appropriate statements for those, I can work with you to ensure that your district is being as transparent as possible, timely in getting information out, and informative to the public. Also, I can review any existing crisis communication strategies that you have, so social media policies that you have, and if necessary, we can work together to create new ones. And if you need training on proper media interviewing techniques, I can work with you to train you and any of your necessary staff. If you have any other communication needs that I haven't mentioned today, I am always available to help you with those. So all you need to do is email me or call. And that's my presentation.
Let me do an additional plug for Sarah. So Sarah's probably one of the least utilized services, mostly because we don't think about communications until we're in trouble, and then we're in trouble with time. So, Sarah does great training on how do I think about, when, God forbid, a coach has an appropriate relationship with the kid for some of these things so that you're ready when the media starts calling. Now, when you get into those firestorms, Sarah's here as well, and we're automatically reaching out. We bought her a monitor. I get ADD just walking into her office because the thing's moving all over the place with Twitter. She's monitoring all different social media. So if anyone's ever saying anything about your school, she should be in touch. Craig, has that ever happened with you before?
Oh my God. I want a testimonial about what Sarah does.
Craig's my best friend.
Friday at graduation, we had a incredibly stupid thing happen. And from 9 o'clock, 9:15 in the morning on Friday morning till 3:45 or so Friday afternoon, I had 1,440 emails from every tribal association in America.
Yeah.
Telling us how stupid we were. And this is what Sarah did for us. She created a statement for us involving the Cheyenne Arapaho Nation, collaborated with us and their office. We put out a joint statement at 3:45, and those complaints stopped immediately. It was dangerous what was being said. It was criminal what was being said. And Sarah, by herself, came up with a statement for both the tribe and for us. No extra charge for tuition. And that immediately stopped. It immediately stopped. 1,440 emails between 9:15 and 3:45, and 0 after that statement. So worth the price of admission right there.
Thank you, Craig.
Of all the things that the Resource Center does for us, that has been the key. A couple times the stupid things that we've initiated, she's fixed for us in a matter of minutes on the fly. I don't know if you've been by her office up there, but she works standing up, and there's a reason for that. Because we do stupid enough stuff that she has to be on her feet running. But I want to say thank you.
Thank you, Craig. Terry?
I love working with Sarah. As a lawyer, people ask me, well, what do we say? We've got the newspaper calling us, and I say, no comment. And Sarah definitely helps to make the no comment a lot more palatable than just the no comment. I provide legal services for our membership. My goal is to be readily accessible to you. Most lawyers are behind a couple of firewalls, secretaries, paralegals. They'll return your call maybe a day later. I give you my cell phone number. I am available anytime. I'm always on the job because you guys are always on the job. And we know that things don't generally happen during business hours. They happen at any time after school. In fact, if you would like my phone number, it's 405-520-9680. That's my cell. Call me anytime you have a need. I'm transactional. Pretty much whatever legal needs you have, I answer your questions. I've worked with rural schools for the better part of 20 years. My dad was a rural school superintendent, so I grew up in the business. And a lot of what I deal with this year anyway, reductions in force. I deal with student suspensions, personnel, terminations, professional development plans. I also try to follow the legislation. I've built a spreadsheet, and it's on our website. Ben has put it up on our website. Now, under the member services section, okay? And I will say I may have missed something, but what I tried to do was make it real easy for you. It's clickable. So if it says House Bill, whatever, you can just click on it and it'll pull the bill right up for you and a little summary of everything. And then Jeff and I worked together. Was it 3218? That's the one that we saw that requires you to have a policy right now because it got rid of end of instruction and it said you got to have a plan to present to your students and parents right away. So we just gave you, it's like a half page. It's with the materials out there and it's also, I think, up on the website. So that you will have something in place, a little framework, just so that your accreditation person doesn't give you a ding. Anyway, I'm here to help whatever you need.
Terry, could you repeat your cell phone number again?
Yes, 405-520-9680.
Yeah, and I will echo that. Like, I'll call. I have memory problems and things, so I do stream of consciousness, and I'll get a voicemail. So just call me tomorrow, and then she calls me that same night. So it's really, really great. When you need a lawyer, you need a lawyer yesterday, and so it's nice that she's that responsible.
Thanks. Pass my friend.
All right, who's basketball coach for the resource center? When he's not trying to recruit KD to come back to Oklahoma City. So.
Man's got to do what a man's got to do.
I'm sorry. This is actually true. He got a billboard from Lamar for "We Love KD."
Did do that.
Yes, just to keep KD here.
Yeah. So got a whole thing. We're raising money for Boys and Girls Club. I will gladly pitch you on it if you want to help give money to the Boys and Girls Club of Oklahoma County. Anyway, my name is Ben Parker, and I'm the IT guy. So this is the part where you go to sleep because typically we don't say anything that is good for you to hear or that you care about. Here I do a few things. One, we have, I think probably the biggest impact we've had is the website offering. So we do school websites. When E-rate came around, I got a lot of phone calls from a lot of you that said, what do we do now? Because I can't afford that price tag if E-rate's not picking up the bill. So we do have a website offering that is greatly reduced in price, and we like to feel it's a good solution. So we have that available. I do PD and training. So I've been out to a lot of your schools to do training on Google Docs, Google Apps, some different things like that, Google Classroom. I even Surface Pros and all that fun stuff, Microsoft Office. So if that's something you need or you're looking for, feel free to reach out. If it's any technology, we can train on it. And if I'm not certified to do it myself, I will find someone who is. So don't hesitate to ask on that end. What else? What am I missing?
The big thing is, there's the nerd tech, and I worked in technology before coming to the resource center, and there's very few humans that speak technology and human. Yeah. And Ben is actually bilingual, so he can talk to the nerds in the field that are trying to sell you something and tell you whether it's useful or not. But he can also talk to your teachers and explain stuff. So you still have the picture when you were down in Greenville. There's this great picture of Ben in the Ardmore, right?
Yeah.
Meeting with Greenville had gotten the OETT grant, and Ben was sitting down with some of the older teachers who'd gone through their really great training, but just hadn't clicked yet, and the paper showed up there. So that's the nice part about we've got the whole teaching and learning team. It's just fun to hear from, but Ben can kind of connect, and we can we're moving in this world where technology is connected with what we're doing in the classroom. It's really critical.
The other thing I have is I have an email list of all these tech companies that you might want to deal with or do deal with. And so if you're looking for a quote, I can typically get your quote response with just one email from about 6 to 7 different companies. So you don't have to spend a lot of time going out and making those phone calls and trying to beg for responses. So I can help you there. And then do we want to talk about any of the other stuff that's coming down the road? Okay, we'll get into the other stuff later. So my phone number is 405-651-9215. If you have any technology issues whatsoever, you got a problem, you got an issue, you feel free to text me. You feel free to give me a call, email me. I will get back to you and help you the best that I can. So,
Great.
I think Bianca is going to speak now for
Yep.
in Carol Kelly's stead.
Yeah, so Carol is in Salt Lake City with one of our members working on, we're going to talk about our innovations model here in just a minute. But so Bianca is on the teaching and learning team, is going to pinch hit for her.
Hi, everybody. I'm part of the teaching and learning team. Jean Potter is back there. She's also part of our team. And we have to be, the two of us have to be here to replace Carol Kelly. If you know Carol Kelly, you know what I mean. Anyway, we offer PD for your staff. We basically come to your school. If you want us to come to your school, we can have your staff here and train them. We offer all different trainings. We have some of the, we piggyback with Ben, and we do some of the technology integration. We also have ELL trainings. We have classroom management trainings. We also have 5 regional developers, one for each area of the state. So we have Northeast, Northwest, Southeast, Southwest, and the central area. And they can also come to you and train your staff. So we want to be very available to you. It is all free with your membership. So if you want to send one of your teachers or all of your teachers, we can do that. And we will have an overview for administrators coming up July 12th. So if you want to come or send your principal so they can get a taste of what our PD looks like, you're more than welcome to come. You can sign up on our website, and then from there you can see what we have to offer. We have several of our just snippets of some of our trainings that you can take a look at and let us know. Our calendar is filling up for August and July. So if you, Gina's looking worried, but if you are still having some PD that you need to cover, give us a call or send us an email, and we'll be more than glad to squeeze you in. Yes, ma'am.
I know the state is going to offer standards-based training, but most of that is specific to grade level. Are you guys going to do anything that just gives administrators an overview of the standards, kind of a walkthrough, if you will?
We have a training. We developed a training with the help of Jeff as well to unwrap the standards. So we basically, it's a train the trainer PD. So basically we show you how to unwrap each standard, and then you can take it to the math. We do 2 math and 2 reading. And so you can use that same strategy for every single standard in every single grade.
Not necessarily for users, but for administrators.
For administrators.
So like my elementary principal will have standards at every grade level. My high school will have standards in every content area. How do I train my administrators about what is included in every set of standards?
We don't have one right now, but now that you mention it, we can work with you also. So if there's something that if you see that you don't see in our catalog, but you are really wanting us to train you with that, we can either develop that training, or we can find, just like Ben said, somebody that will be certified or trained to provide you with that training.
The problem is if they go to state training, they have to choose a strand.
Right.
You know, so there's no way to look at everything, which is what they need to be doing.
Right.
Yeah, please let us know. You know, it's the same thing when you were a teacher. You said to your kids, hey, if you've got a question, everybody else has the question. It's the same thing. If you need training, the other schools.
Yes.
And that's really how we've developed our training. We just wait for folks to call. So we do have a catalog. I think we've got some copies out here.
Yes.
The catalog's on our online as well. But please don't. That's just the start. We've developed that catalog because folks request training.
That's it.
Cool. So we've touched on, so we like to say we have 3 service areas, the first being consulting. And the big thing is just that, you know, I'll pick on Craig again. Craig joined because he had kind of a PR legal issue. And then later on, he called and said, oh, can I get some training on STEM? And we had something. So, I mean, that's kind of the way that our services have rolled out. And the big thing that I like to stress is just pick up the phone and call us, right? I'm pretty much useless. I mean, other than just being devastatingly handsome. It's, you know, I mean, yeah, you know, yeah, there you go. So, but I mean, my staff, the staff here is really, I just, you know, I go into my staff meetings and go, God, how are we doing all this stuff? So, you know, if you don't know who to reach out to, call me. I'm pretty good at making sure that other people call back. And then, you know, but you can also reach out directly to the staff. And that's really how we've tried to develop. It's nice when you call with a legal issue, Terry can call and say, okay, I just want to tell them, you know, to get the, you know, the media off their porch. And Sarah will say, well, there's probably a better way to say that. Right. So those are the ways there's a wraparound services we can work on. So that's consulting is our first area of service, but professional development, and we really can do PD in any area. Most of our PD falls into either technology or teaching and learning. But if you've got a specific challenge, you need some help in your back office, Andy can come out and put everybody to sleep, I promise you. You know, so each of our 5 directors can do any type of professional development that you need. Just give us a call. And we'll also do that here in our facility. I should also note, this facility is your facility. So we've had some staff come and use it for a retreat. If it's available, it's yours. And most of the time, the space is available. It's a lot more fun when you and your staff are in the building than when this building's empty. It's a big old building when there's not a lot of folks here. So please, if it would help, you know, for folks that are close, it's a little bit easier. But, you know, if you want to do a retreat, we're here and we don't charge to use the space. We also do have a branch office up in Tulsa. The Schusterman family has allowed us to use, I think it's on the 18th floor in their big old building. So we have just a small little office, but access to a bunch of conference rooms up there as well. So we can do that. And then we'll also come to your space. We always use Max's space up there in Omega. And we'll use any of the other career techs as well. So we're mobile. The last area of sort of services are you know, we're still kind of developing this, but what we call products. And we've got a folder for everyone that gives you information on each of these products. But so we have our website offering. I won't belabor that. We have the NWEA subsidy, and Jeff works directly with NWEA. If you're not familiar with that tool, you may know Renaissance, you may know Alpha Plus. The measuring academic progress for our money is the best tool on the market. There are other good tools out there. With our subsidy, it's not only one of the better tools out there, but it's also the most affordable. So we, if you don't use NWEA today, we knock the administrative cost is usually $4,500 just to get through the door. Through our membership, you get to $1,500, and then they don't cut their prices on licensing at all. But their license cost is $12.50 per student, and we're able to subsidize $8 per student the first year, $6 the second year that you use, and it's the year that you use the subsidy, and then $4 the third year. So in addition to that, then we provide all of the professional development. We had 28 folks here yesterday getting trained on use of the PD. And then that's why we have Jeff on board. Other than being the formal guy that wears a tie in the office, Jeff is able to come out and work with your staff. At Seminole, he used that data. The one problem, sort of the one frustration we have with NWEA is they're a really, really nerdy group, and the reports are really, really hard to use. And so Jeff can come out and say, okay, here's how you get access to the reports. Here's how you use them. The other piece is a lot of people say, well, they just give me too much data. So, okay, well, that's a problem we can work with. And so as we've mentioned, Tom, where's Tom? Is he out parking his car? Tom's our data guy. He can't park. He double parks everywhere. But so we can also work on preparing some custom reports if that helps as well. So online digital courses is something we can show. It's on our website. It hasn't been real popular, but it's if you ever have a student where you want to offer Chinese, if you want to offer some really unique, here's Tom is in the back. So we like to pick on Tom. Feel free to do it. Feel free to join in the game. So Tom's our guy that always comes back with, well, have you thought about it this way? So, but it's real top notch. But the online digital courses is an interesting piece. If you really want to start to personalize offerings, it's a pay by the drink. So if you just have one student where you want to offer something specific, we have over 1,600 courses available in there, all kinds of different providers. It can be credit recovery. Yeah, but so here's the one piece with ours. The way that we just so we have a counterpart in Arkansas. They had signed into a group, and we have access to their catalog. It's pay per course per student. So if you're paying for OdysseyWare, or I always forget, is it Edivate or yeah, one of those. A lot of those, yeah, Edgenuity. That's it. Yeah, if you're paying for those, a lot of those are a little bit cheaper because if you're taking volume courses. And we're trying to figure out how we solve that, how do we fix that issue? But more for that, if you're trying to target and offer, more targeted things for students, some AP courses, if you can't offer them, at least at low volume, it should be a really great opportunity.
I did not hear a word you said.
You do have a teacher of record with that, where it's also where you don't necessarily have it. So if you want to cover it for that reason.
Yep.
So yes, we can get it that way per course, but you thinking OdysseyWare is probably still cheaper.
It depends on if you're doing it.
I only use it for credit recovery.
Yep.
If you already have that and have your seats paid for, then it's
Yep.
OdysseyWare.
Yeah. Well, we can do a cost comparison. The catalog has each course is a different price based on the content providers. It's all available. You can link to it right through our website. So. And then the last area I do want to, Ben, if you could click into this. This is brand new. We've mentioned a couple times we have this member services firewall. If you haven't signed up for this, it's as easy as all you got to do is go in and put in your email and a password, and then it automatically lets you in. If you're not a member, we'll send you an email and say, hey, please join. But we want to really, because Ben can't, he still sleeps and things like that. We can't be everywhere at all times. And so we want to start taping and putting up different courses. This is just the tip of a very large iceberg of online courses. So
and your teachers have free access to these. And
yep.
So if they go to our website and click on the login button, on the login page it says register here. If they just register with their school email address, it's got to be their school email address. That way we know you're a member. We know they're at your organization. They have free access to all these. There's no waiting period to be approved. They get instant access.
All of your teachers, these give certificates. So if you have emergency certification, you can get the, yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
most of it's like the bus driver training we were talking about, where they have to pass a test with some of them. If it's for something that they've got to have points on.
So Ben, show some of your technology stuff that you have. That's the teaching and learning side. If you're using Google Classroom and you want to see different things, Ben's a walking encyclopedia. He's kind of scary like this. Like you can show up and say, hey, I need an app to do X, and then he'll give you 5 different options off the top of his head. I'm not sure he's a human. But so we're trying to then take that and get that out there, and he can actually explain it in real English. So that's the Google Classroom one, but then like different tools that also integrate, like Flubaroo, things like that. So there's just an amazing amount of stuff that we're getting up there, and that will continue to expand out as we continue to take.
The other thing that I'll be doing starting next school year, beginning of August, every Wednesday, I'm going to be online for 1 hour after school from 3:20 to about 4:50. I'll just be around, and I'm going to have topics I'll be talking about, and so your teachers can log in and we'll do PD, and then they can also provide feedback on what we should be talking about each week. So where is this?
This is on our website. Go back to our homepage on our website, OPSRC.net.
And if you just click on the login button up top here, when you click on that, it brings you to this page. He's already logged in. In fact, I'll log out so you can see what it looks like. It just gives you a form right here. Where you
Here, Cecilia, have you logged in yet?
No.
Let's do it right now.
You can register by clicking here. You just put in your first name, last
Do it.
name, email address, username.
Cecilia, do it right now. We'll show how easy it is. Martin? Why not? Why?
No idea who Steve Martin is. We got
There you go. Yeah.
CRW at Millwood PS.
2 L's.
.org. I don't know what it is.
You can choose one.
Oh, just put C.
Crazy Millwood Superintendent.
That would be good.
We'll just do C Woods. I'm going to make up a password right here so not everybody
Actually, it was crazy after you did that. All right.
So now you have access.
So now you're already in.
Cool.
You fill out the form and you're in. I mean, that's it. There is no waiting process. There's no approval. So.
Yeah, we're trying to make it so that so if someone comes in and registers and they're not a member, we'll reach out and say, hey. Yeah.
Get all excited.
Yeah, that's substitute teacher training.
So what does it do?
So it's interactive, and Bianca and Jean can probably tell you a little bit more about it in detail. But the cool part about it is when you're in a course, you'll see on the right-hand side, it shows you all the pieces. And when I'm done with the piece, I can mark it as complete. And I can move to the next piece, but it marks those things complete that I've already been through and done, so I can keep track of.
But the only bad thing is, in order for a substitute teacher to do that, they have to have a district email.
If you run into a challenge like that, let me know. So if you told me I've got a substitute and her email is, or his email is XYZ, I won't boot it.
We don't block it. Like if someone logs in with Gmail account, it's still going to get in.
Okay.
And so, you know, we'll reach out and say, hey, you're not using a school email address. If they say, hey, I need to be a teacher, a substitute, we're not going to be jerks about it.
Modules take, like looking at the purple one, how long will these modules take for someone?
Bianca?
They vary, so depending on what the PD is, the substitute training, I think it's what?
I'd say all of them are less than an hour. Many of them will be 20 minutes or so, depending again on what one you're looking at. Most of them do have videos with them, so that you can, instead of just being straight reading, there's some videos and examples. So they're as interactive as we could make them, and we may be changing that to make them even more interactive.
Yeah. And if they're no good, like, you know, we're trying to put this stuff out as quickly as possible. If something's not working, if you take one, let us know, right? You know, this is an iterative process for us.
And it's only a test or a certificate in places that are required, or does everything have a certificate?
You can get I think it's our desire to put a certificate with everything.
Yep.
So and all the teaching and learning have tickets. All mine will have certificates, and mine are timed videos, so you can actually know. And mine have quiz checks at the end, so they do like a five test, 5 answer quiz. They're gonna get a certificate. I paid attention. I learned the content, and I spent 40 minutes, and then they can mark that down or whatever at time. So.
Yeah, I mean, and all of the stuff that the teaching and learning team developed, Bianca did this, was aligned to, you know, if there's required training that the state has, what bloodborne pathogens, all these different things, those are all available. You know, this is a whole goal of the resource centers. Let's knock down, you know, you guys, what someone described the other day, the role of a superintendent is not strategic. It's almost a gopher, right? Like, okay, here's the next thing the State Department needs. Let's run and go do that. If we can start to clear the you know, those obstacles out of the way, then you can actually focus, God forbid, on what's going on inside your school.
And the biggest thing that we want is if we're not getting that information to you, or you have, if you know this stuff is there and we're not communicating to the right people,
yeah,
we want to know who to communicate with.
Yep.
Because it doesn't do any good if we have all this stuff built and we can't get it to you.
Yep.
If you've got a set of people that you want us to communicate with on teaching and learning, and you want us to communicate with on technology, please feel free to email us and email one of us and we'll get it shared.
Yep.
We do a pretty good job of sharing emails.
Yeah, and that's the critical piece is your school district is the member. So we're here to serve your school district, right? Don't, you know, and that's, you know, like you're a member of the resource center. You don't have to just call me, call and bug the staff. And, you know, I can you know, if you're not getting the response, we all get busy, so I can follow up. But that's our whole model here.
And if it doesn't work and if it's not what you need, tell us and we'll change it. We'll make it fit.
Cool. All right, so we're going to continue on. Those are our products. We've got additional services. I mentioned Carol's up in Salt Lake City right now at the Salt Lake. The Salt Lake City School District has this really cool innovation school district model. Carol and I flew up. We'd heard about it. She'd heard about it and dragged me along. And I was just blown away what they're doing. It's a personalized learning approach for every student. And if you've heard the term blended learning, the two pieces are they've individualized instruction for each student, and then they're using a competency-based education model so that kids can progress at their own pace. So we have 3 schools that have signed up this year that we're offering the travel. I think she's up there with Oologah right now. Union City just left, and Chickasha, the 3 schools for this school year. We've partnered with them. We required that an administrator and a school board member went up and looked at the model, and they signed an MOU that we're going to implement this model with fidelity. We really think this is kind of where education's going, and it's a radical transformation. The role of the teacher is completely different in this model. So we're kind of learning at the same time. So this Salt Lake City, what's really neat about this model is it was developed by an administrator inside the school district there in Salt Lake City. His name's Ken Grover. So that's 3 school districts this coming fall we'll start implementing. We've already got some schools for the following year. I'm working on fundraising. I mean, the big piece is that, we're inserting technology. We're exploring some different options on how can we make this as affordable as possible. But I'm really, really, really excited about this, especially for the kids that, maybe this doesn't work for everybody. I was a social kid. I fit in fine in class. But think about the kids that, get frustrated, or they're particularly strong in one subject. Well, let's let them thrive in math. The school district in Salt Lake City is partnered. It's actually physically located on the end of their community college, and so they're encouraging kids to pursue their associate's degree as well. So this is going to be an area we're going to spend as much time as we possibly can on expanding that out. If you want to learn more, Carol's the director and kind of leading that area, but pretty exciting area there. Our regional refresh summits, if you saw the boxes out front, those are all the materials we actually just got donated from Feed the Children. We're going to be doing 5 regional summits. The first one's down in the Ardmore area on August 2nd. Throughout the year, we tried to align it with days where schools are off, but teachers are around. So we're going to be offering professional development. All of our directors will be there. We'll have vendors there. It's kind of, rather than doing, I think we've got enough conferences in the state. We decided rather than doing another, central conference, that we could try and get out. And then we also want to give teachers materials. So we were able to get those materials donated. We'll keep on trying to find more resources. Again, that's another free professional development day. As many folks can sign up as they want. We've got, I think, max about 150 we can fit in. We're going to do it at the Ardmore Tech Center. So I always forget the name of them. We've got a new federal programs offering that Andy's leading. So I think it's $2,500. We've got all the details in the folder. If you're looking to save some dollars, we're trying to give you as many services as possible to save. We've developed a governance board training. Okay.
What actually is in that?
Andy.
It's we'll do the 3 basics. We'll do Title 1, Title 2, then small school. Then after that, it's added.
So when you say do, does that mean help write the plan? Does that mean file claims? Does that mean?
You file the claims, but we'll go get the program. And we'll get the budget done and all that.
Okay. Governance board training we've developed. We're in the process of getting approved from the state board to be able to do that as a certified provider. But we've got a full full training for boards. If you want to reach out on that, that won't be an additional cost. It's just be another professional development opportunity. I'm going to skip over Catalyst Ed Fund in 1 second. Express Personnel, we've just formalized an arrangement with them. If you have part-time staff, we have all the details in the folder. They can hire part-time staff, including retired teachers, and they can pay them. It saves you some of the overhead. They get all the full benefits of being an Express Personnel employee. I think, Max, you're using that at the Chisholm Trail Technology Center. Cool. So if it saves you some bucks, that'd be great. And then we're also working out a deal where 1% of what you're paying comes back and can help cover your membership fee. So that's a new one. And then the Catalyst.
One's a chemical teacher, okay, the other one's a nurse, and the third one is custodian, maintenance custodian. So the maintenance custodian, they don't do bus drivers. He's a bus driver, so I'll put him on extra duty. Pay part of his salary off the extra duty, so part of that's in-house. One of the big benefits, I think, would be if you have some teachers that are eligible for retirement, move them over to the Express Personnel, because it's got to be under 30 hours a week. If you can do that as an instructor, you fill in 30 hours a week, pay them $25,000, $20,000. You don't pay teachers retirement. you're paying 25 or 40 now, you know, so you're saving 15,000 on top of that.
That with them.
They're getting more by being retired. And, there's a lot of things to look at financially on that, but I think it's beneficial for school. Now, I do think at some point, teacher retirement is going to lobby to try to stop that movement.
Right.
Yep.
They were, had full blessings on this, but, everybody knows that, express personnel, that's their information, they don't have access to it. Teacher retirement, they got a lot of though. This is express
Yeah.
personnel, we all know. It's exactly right. We're rolling that out for educators.
Yep.
We have one school we're looking at doing just the extra duty contract, and the retired coach is coming back. And it's gonna make financial sense for them to do that, because that way they're gonna be able to settle that at clear and make it a little bit more attractive position.
You pay people so little, a lot of
Yeah.
people are looking for the teacher retirement.
Yeah. Yeah. This is just, we're trying to find different solutions, and if it works, that's great. If not, no worries. The last one that I want to talk about is this Catalyst Education Fund. So this is something that everyone in here qualifies for, and it's something that no one's using right now. So Cecilia, I want you to listen now.
I was working.
So this is a tax credit program. It's for dollars. You can fundraise, and the donors get tax credits, and the schools get the money. Now, we had to create a subsidiary 501c3. We've done that. The dollars have to come to us. You have my word. I think, Shannon, you've actually been using this a little bit. And so, but what's neat about it is we can create a project for you. I'm not doing football fields or uniforms. That's the one thing. No, but I want to focus on academics. I'm 12 varsity letter sport coach, 4 sports in high school when I was teaching. But yeah, but we want to focus on different programs, especially with like the student activities fund getting cut and all those different, literacy first and all the different competitive grants that are available to schools that are no longer available. This is a way where we can help. You can fundraise. If you've got a foundation, this should be a way of maybe making it easier for them to fundraise. The dollars won't technically come to the foundation any longer. We can get onto all the mechanics, but the dollars will come right back to you to implement programs. And this is another way we can invest in different programs inside schools. The benefit of, so if I make a donation to the Millwood School Foundation, I'll get a federal and state deduction off my taxes. If I make a donation to the Catalyst Education Fund in the name of the Millwood STEM project, I'm going to get the federal deduction because it's still a 501c3 I'm donating to, but then I'm going to get a state tax credit. And if I make a one-time donation, I'm going to get 50% of my dollars right back. Credits are much better than deductions. If I say I'm going to do that for 2 years, that goes to 75%. So if I give the Millwood Foundation $1,000, I'm going to get, and I'm going to say I'm going to do that for 2 years, I'm going to get $750 back on my taxes each year, plus a $1,000 federal deduction. It's almost free money. So I've tried to fundraise. I don't know anybody in Oklahoma. And I'll tell you what, having 4 foundations the size that we have on our masthead hurts, because they look at it and go, why the hell are you asking me for money? Right? But if we can get to schools, and schools want to develop programs, you all know the folks, and I think that it could really greatly increase your fundraising efforts. So we're going to be spending some effort on that. And then
So one of the things that we can do is, if you choose to use this effort, what we can do is stand up a webpage for you. It would look kind of like a Donors Choose, essentially, where you could put a goal like, hey, we're raising $10,000 for the STEM lab, right? And when they donate, it's going to make a donate online. It's automatically going to come to us. And then when it's been, when the money comes through, we're going to give it back to you. But then you have a visual on that page that's showing how much you've raised and what your goal is and how many people have given, that sort of thing. So that way your community kind of has an idea of where that's at. You can email out and text out, hey, we've raised $4,000, but we still need another $1,000 or whatever. Yeah. And that way you kind of have a central place where you can kind of run that out of. We can either implement that in your page or on a page we have through the Catalyst Ed side.
One sec, Sarah. So we talked about Donors Choose, and we actually reached out to them. The way that their model works is they have to buy the materials and mail them to the schools, and we just couldn't work it out so that so we could satisfy the tax commission's requirement, because as the recognized Education Improving Granting Organization, EIGO, as if we needed another acronym, is that we had to report that we have the dollars and then we've given it to an eligible school. An eligible school is any school in a district with less than 4,500 students. So that's why we had to do this. That's why we're going ahead and building our own kind of donors choose like page. Sarah?
Greg wants to know, what about building projects?
Yes. So we wanted there had to be some type of an academic focus. But Shannon, why don't you talk about what's going on in Dover?
Well, what I did is after the fire, we had all these people that wanted to come and give money to us. And we had a couple of, we had an oil and gas plant that had come in that they had expressed an interest in giving us some money. And so my thought was that if we set up this account to where they could get this 50% tax credit plus this, if that might influence the amount that they gave. And so I think the way we wrote it, it was for the, Andy helped me here, how we worded it in there.
We called it the Dover Recovery something or another.
And recovery and replacement
Yes.
account, and then set up an account in there to where like individuals could go in and donate and then be able to get that tax credit or a company.
And then what we'll do after July 1, we'll send that money to him.
We can send it whenever. We can hold on to it. Yeah.
But to make his life a little bit easier, we're sending to him after July 1.
Yep.
It was worded relating to recovery, replacement, enhancement of technology facilities and educational materials at the following level.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. But so that's an area if you're
The
getting
way it
creative.
worked is I would take that money and technology or other supplies that I lost, I would replace out of that fund, and then my insurance still owes it for me. And so, you know, I'll still collect from my insurance, but I didn't have to expend those funds there. So I have another, I can put them into my building or whatever. So
Cool.
that was the advantage I saw to it. So.
Yep.
We did. So, yeah.
Yep.
This is in addition to that.
Yep. And we can talk to your foundations. We don't want to step on anybody's toes. I know the foundations are critical for most schools. This is different. If we could just give the dollars to the foundation, we do it. We do have to run it, but the law requires we run it through our fund and then that we give it to the school itself. So
something we found with Dover, we had a donation who came in that wanted to be totally anonymous. They didn't want anybody at the school to know or in the community to know that they had donated. And they said that money, they sent, Shannon made it pretty public about what we were doing. And they sent the money directly to us. We sent them back the tax receipts. And we'll make sure that they get the right 1099s for their taxes.
Yep.
But, whatever.
Well, that's one of the biggest advantages is you can run it through your own foundation and get the simple credit. But this, we take care of that for you. We back off for you, we'll get 1099, make sure they get what they need for the tax credit. And so it simplifies the process for you, which is everything we do. That's what we're trying to make things easier for you, make your life easier, and help you.
And one thing we were talking about up here, this is for not only individuals, but businesses as well. So
yes.
For both.
So individuals, now the limits, a single person can get up to $1,000 on the tax credit itself, married to $2,000, corporations, $100,000. Those are annual limits. So the 50%, 75% makes me to do the proportional math that I was never good at, but the 50% I can do. If I donate to max out as a single person, I would donate $2,000 and then I get to 50% tax credit at $1,000.
My thought was when I had an ARM midstream was supposed to be gas plant in the north part of our district, and they had expressed an interest in doing this. And my thought with it was, okay, if they want to give us $50,000, then they could give us, somebody do the math for me, with the tax credit, they could give more and not cost them anything else. And that was my thought. We get the most bang for our buck out of it. So
yeah.
One thing we'll also do is, one thing we're doing.
So Pat keeps us all out of jail, in case you're wondering what her job is. That is a full-time job when I work here.
One thing we will do is, especially with the foundations and the companies, if they have questions, that's what Andy did.
if you have a big company that wants to make a donation, I will burn the highway up to get there. I mean, this to me is, I don't know why this hasn't taken off. Like everything else that we've tried, it seems to take off like, you know, like wildfire. And this one, I thought would be the easiest one. And we've raised some dollars, but nowhere near what, you know, what it should be. 5 years, 4 or 5 years. Yeah. Yep. It's 1.5 million can actually can be given out in the tax credit itself. So, yeah. Yep. Yeah. And I would love to raise that cap, but it's hard to ask to raise a cap when we've raised like $12,000. So, yeah. Yeah. Yep. All right. So I'm sorry. I told you we wouldn't talk at you, and then that's all we've done. So I'll go as fast as I can. These are things that aren't in place today, but we want to just give you a preview of what we're working on. This afternoon, Ben and I are going to go talk with some folks about starting an E-rate consortium where we think you'll get cheaper services as well as better services because the volume that we would be able to provide. This is complicated and it's controversial. I know some folks have gotten in trouble in the past, so we've been slow about going after this one. But it's, you know, given the financial crisis, we're trying to do everything we can. Ben's also working on an enhanced technology support via tech consortium, where if you don't have a tech director or if you can't afford a full-time tech director anymore, you could get all of the tech director services. This would be partnering with some different vendors out there. We're working with Rick right now on a superintendent dashboard. And Rick's looking for folks to kind of work with him on that. So if you want to talk to him today about that, or we can, you know, jump in there, as well as Rick partnering with Locust Grove has developed a bus transportation service. And inside our folder, we've got some information on that as well. So why don't you talk about the dashboard?
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. The way we've been working for about 1.5 years to develop this dashboard, and basically what it is, when I log on, is a snapshot of my district at a glance of every single thing that's going on. We wrote it to read off of our student information systems, OCAST, anything that you use, NWEA, if you're using Renaissance Learning, it can read it all. So every day when I look, I see the top 25 most at-risk students in my district. And I chose that in my district because we're 100% free lunch. Socioeconomics are of little importance, but because they're all the same. So I did it based on grades, attendance, ethnicity, just anything you can think of that would make a child fall into that at-risk category. And everyone is going to be a little different in how they read that. So that way my principals can see it for their buildings. I can see it as a district. You know, you might want to go put hands on that student, you know, and check in with them. They may need services. They may need, you know, you just never know what's going on. So financially, it reads off of, I don't know what sheets everyone uses, the Tom Cameron sheets, the Vernon Florence sheets, the Andy sheets, whatever we're doing, but
yep.
It reads all those every day out of the accounting systems for the state. So I know every day where we are on revenue, cash flow, expenses versus budget, everything like that. We did an academic piece, we did a financial piece, we did a culture piece for my district. We did a transportation piece. So it will tell me every day, based on the budget I had for transportation, where we are on that budget. It depreciates out all your facilities and your transportation and your technology. So for instance, right now, they turned the technology on for me last Friday. So we have a little over 2,000 devices in the district that I now have a 5-year depreciation schedule for each device. So it helps you with some strategic planning. In replacement, being able to replace things and what you need to do. So for me, that was the important part, to get into a cost mindset instead of a revenue mindset. So just to be a little bit more efficient with what we do. And it brought a lot of efficiencies actually in the back office area of how we look at things and how we encumber our money.
Yeah. Yeah. So
dashboards at their essence are a major resource to be able to get you out of fire drill and get you into planning. And just in my observations, we've been involved with schools on the East Coast, public schools in different states, 3 different states. And I am amazed at what the state of Oklahoma requires you guys to do. It is daunting.
Yeah.
When I saw the single signer sign on and I saw what Lori's having to do, I'm going, gee, Christmas. So the long story short is, it will enable you to be the superintendent rather than an employee of the State Department of Education. I don't know if I'm being controversial or not, but in a lot of respects, the data that you've got to put in and the things you've got to manage, it leaves so little time to do your magic.
So that's still, the Lori's working the bugs out, so you can thank her for going through all that pain. To figure out how we roll that out, but if you want to learn more, we can talk to you about that.
Will that be available next week, Rick?
No. No.
I'll tell you what, talk to me afterwards. We'll,
Yeah.
see what we can do.
Talk to those guys. Yeah. So. Yeah.
The other academic part that I thought was really cool is like, because I chose what I wanted to see every morning. So I can look on academics and it'll tell me everything, like our enrollment for the day in the district, every single grade, every ethnicity, how many are in it, an overview of what the ACT scores are versus what their grades are versus, so that you're really into hard analytics at that point and how you can make improvements in your district. Instead of, for me, I didn't have any of that, so I'm having to call counselors and dig and ask principals and dig, and it was so overwhelming just to gather the information, then to put it in something to analyze. So.
Can I ask a question? Greg Ferris wanted to know if that could be used as a forum for collaboration between all staff members without actually having to hold staff meetings.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you can offer different views, so the superintendent can see more. There's
Yes.
different things than what a teacher
Your
sees.
board can see what you choose to have them see as far as
Nothing.
Sorry. For me, I don't think they want to see my whole financial sheet of every expenditure in the district, but they want to see the graphs.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I mean? They want to see trend lines.
Board members don't know this is available.
Never heard of it. Don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. But they want to be able to see trend lines. So we added trend lines, for instance, between say you did your August, your whole expense sheet for the year, and then we took 3 years worth of data, and you're able to see trend lines for expenditures in the last 3 years on each category. If you're doing it by object code, for instance,
right.
Yes, you can see trend lines for all of that.
One of the biggest shifts that this will enable is that, everybody's got their management style, the books they've read, this and that and the other, but it's really, in terms of the essence of simplicity, we love agile management. And that way, people already have the data, you've already seen it, you got this Christmas tree, everybody's on the same page before you ever show up. And then it's just a simple meeting of, okay, what obstacles do you have? What resources do you need? And how do we get there? And so it makes for very action-oriented meetings rather than, the round robin that takes too much time.
And the notebooks, if it's from, you have to go back year after year to say, I swear to God, I tripled my heating air costs. I haven't had the time to prove it because I got to go back through everything for report. I have something like that. It's true. Yeah.
Cool. All right, so that's all of our service. Want to move into everybody's favorite topic, policy and legislation. Best part is it's over for this year. So I want to talk a little bit about what role we play as the resource center. So I mentioned at the start, we're a 501c3. And so at the heart of what we do is our job is to provide services to you. We're not a 501c4, which is a pure political nonprofit, or a 501c6, which is more of a trade association, again, whose primary role is to lobby. So the IRS has pretty strict guidelines on this, and we have to report what percentage of our budget is related to and activities are related to lobbying as well as services. I just detailed that one. So we do have a lobbyist on staff. This is the first time this past year. Her name is Gwendolyn Caldwell. She lobbies for a whole bunch of different education groups. And really the reason why we chose to bring her on board was the previous year we had our general counsel was spending a lot of time up there. Terry does get involved and will continue to stay involved with what's going on in terms of monitoring legislation. But having someone up at the state capitol all of the time is just, it takes away our ability to actually focus on services. So that's why we brought her on. I'm also a registered lobbyist. I was at the Capitol about 4 or 5 times this past year. So I just, if I have a choice of coming out and meeting with a school or working with the staff on different solutions or going to the Capitol, unless I have to be at the Capitol, I'm not choosing that solution. The other thing that folks want to ask about, and we can talk about this as much as you'd like, is, what is the board's goals? We have these 4 foundations, and our board members are up on our website. I can read them off to you if you'd like, but each of the foundations that offers money does have a representative that they name to the board. Here's the interesting part, and most folks don't know, is the Kaiser and Schusterman, Inasmuch and Walton family pretty much don't agree on anything other than supporting public schools. That's about it. When it comes to ESAs, when it comes to school consolidation, when it comes to testing, when it comes to whatever else, they literally don't agree on anything. So like my board meetings, when that stuff comes up, I say, hey, let's just take this offline because it's got nothing to do with us. You guys aren't going to agree on this stuff, and we're going to focus on providing, what our service, what our membership wants. So I know that that's been a topic of conversation about, what's the roles of the, goals of the organizations that support the Resource Center. I'll tell you, they support traditional public schools and they support charter schools. You can look at our membership, traditional public schools and public charter schools. That's the only thing that's going on. There's nothing, I don't know how to prove to you, if I could have a curtain and say there's nothing behind the curtain. But that's, some of my frustration trying to, how do I prove something that doesn't exist? So in terms of what happened in the 2016 legislative session, Terry's mentioned she put together an overview of all education bills. If we miss something, let us know. We can update. That's up behind the member services firewall. Or is it actually just publicly? Oh, we didn't do a hard copy of it?
No, because it went printed out so small.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
Publish on it when we get out of here. It'll be out by the time you get back to where you're at.
Okay, so we'll have it up on our website. Last year we did a big binder, and it was great. It was a lot of work, and I don't know how much useful it is to have a binder. If you want one, we'll make one for you. But instead, what we decided to do is we put it up on our website, and now you can see all those reports. I think our report itself is what, 3-4 pages long. Yep. Okay. Yep. Yep. And if you have questions about things taking place, Terry be your first go-to, and then we'll run down any questions you have about different bills. So what did the Resource Center support this past year? Well, we requested 2 bills this past year. Senate Bill 1187, you may have heard of. It was extremely popular. I'll also note, neither of the bills that we requested passed. And this is a learning experience. This is, people say it's not my first rodeo. This is my first rodeo. The 1187 attempted to modify the School Empowerment Act. The School Empowerment Act was put in place, I think in 2010, and it was put in place as a way of saying, hey, school districts, if you want to act like a charter school, you can. And then they put a bunch of restrictions in there that essentially limit your hands so that you couldn't act like a charter school. We got a call from one of our members that said, why can't I do this stuff? Can you get rid of this stuff? I thought it made a lot of sense. We drafted the bill, we sent it up, and it was extremely popular. Craig can show you some scars that he got along the way. Yeah. So that bill did end up passing out of the Senate, went to the House, and didn't get a hearing. We backed off pushing for it once we realized how upset people were about it. I will tell you, a similar bill did pass, House Bill 2720. So if you want to talk about like some of those flexibilities, we don't want to do anything to hurt educators or to put you in a bad position. But we do want to give you flexibility as much as possible. And I know some of that can be controversial. I'm here, throw arrows at me. But it was a learning process, and that's one of the bills that we requested. We also requested a bill, didn't get a hearing, it was around charter schools. Some of our members wanted to know on facilities, like what's available, especially if there's a vacant building sitting, and this is primarily in the metro areas. So could they get access to those facilities? When we got there, we realized what the administrative burden would be for districts to have to report this stuff up, and so we didn't request a hearing. Those are the 2 bills that we specifically requested. The only other bill that I really ever spent any more time on was 3218, which is the testing bill. We thought it made sense to get rid of EOIs, and so we were part of the coalition working with all the other education associations out there and the State Department on this bill. The one thing that we were real strong advocates for was on having a norm reference portion of the test, which we think is important. I agreed with the speaker at COSA last week, Ruby Payne, who was talking about if we're really going to do testing, what should matter to us is not what level is a kid performing at, but what type of growth are we seeing? And so that's what norm reference testing can help with. So I'm excited about that bill. I know every time that we pass a bill, there are intended consequences and unintended consequences. So we'll be there to help if you have concerns or questions about the new assessment system rolling out. We'll be there to help on that. The other stuff, we were real involved with the red tape task force and trying to limit all of the things that the schools are requested to do. I pointed out the State Department's at a glance document that I think was like 28 pages long. That's the at a glance reports. In fact, Brad's our former general counsel at the state board. He actually taped the document together and got up and said, okay, here's state board. Here's the at a glance. This is why this is important for you to approve these bills. And he just dropped it. It was like an accordion going down. He's like, everybody got that? So we know that what schools are asked to report is ridiculous. And we don't necessarily blame folks, right? This stuff happens, right? Bureaucracy happens. And so we need to be vigilant about explaining those challenges so that we can start to remove as much as possible. Two things we put up there that we don't support in any way, shape, or fashion: school consolidation and ESAs. So let me explain those. School consolidation for two reasons. One, if we have less schools, I have less members, right? So it's a basic business model, though that's really not that important. What's more important to me is, when you talk about school consolidation, if we assume the best of intentions, people are worried about efficiencies in schools, right? Well, I'm not worried about efficiencies in schools. I'm worried about helping you guys be as effective as possible. Now, if we can make you more efficient and you can reuse those dollars, that's great. I also come out and I see you, and I remember the first time a superintendent told me he had to get his CDL license renewed. I'd never heard of that before. I'm not from Oklahoma. I could have hit me in the face with a frying pan. I wouldn't have been as surprised. So, when you see the resume of superintendent, principal, coach, trig teacher, bus driver, and I'm forgetting 5 other titles, I don't know how you get more efficient than that. So it's just not an issue for us. If, some schools have called and said, hey, should we consider sharing a superintendent? Some of our members are doing that now. That's great, but trying to force consolidation and things like that, or, we have a lot of K-8 members who joined, some of the bills last year looking at why do we get rid of K-8 schools? And, hey, we work with charter schools that are in a lot of ways a K-8 model. And I said, why would you do that? Some of the best schools in our state are K-8 models. So it just doesn't make any sense to me. And we don't have any role in supporting that.
To support your concept, a lot of people don't realize there's been a lot of after economic studies on school consolidation. There's one that's excellent in Pennsylvania. They went through the throes of this in the 90s. If you go back and look at the research, consolidation never, ever achieves efficiencies.
Yeah.
Invariably, and this just happens in corporate America as well, once people it just kind of expands the amount of availability of what they can get money for, and that's just human nature. So consolidation rarely, well, in schools, I've yet to see anything that documents it ever works.
Yeah, and I'm fortunate enough to get to go to most of the Oklahoma City Public School Board meetings, so I can tell you how a large school district works, and if that's what our goal is, then I'm going to get a new job. So, because that's my least favorite job, is sitting there for those 5-6 hour meetings. The other piece is ESAs and vouchers. They're out there. I'll even say it: the Walton family is publicly supportive of it. It has nothing to do with us. We're not supportive of it. We don't devote a lot of time to lobbying against it. We don't really devote any time to lobbying against really anything. We're up there to support different things, and then we just stay out of the way. So it's got nothing to do with us. I think we've got lots of great things we need to be focused on. I know there's a lot of concern in the public education world, and I don't know how to answer that question other than that. But feel free to ask me as much as you want about it. So it's on our website. A lot of people say we have some hidden agenda. I don't think we do, but if you find it, please let me know. What? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry. I like to be slightly irreverent. And one of my project management philosophies is when you run into a problem, just open the kimono. So, I think transparency is critical. And so, ask away. I think that covers most of what we wanted to cover. What'd you say? You want to keep that kimono on? I don't know. I haven't made, so Brad, so you guys, I've been facing you this way, but Greg's gotten to see the profile here from the video. So, he's sitting there really, really benefiting from all of this. I really want to have a conversation. I don't like to get the guy to be in the way of lunch, but I really want to get your feedback both on our services. I want to answer any questions you have. I would love to hear, are there better ways that we can communicate out some of this stuff? Because, probably the number one frustrating thing to me is we dedicate a lot of time between Mark, myself, and Jeff doing recruitment. And if we could I just get bored with recruitment, right? I'm like the sales guy. That sucks. I want to be the guy that's out there going, okay, what's your challenge? Okay, Craig, what'd you do now? let's come up with a solution. And that's where I want to stop devoting the amount of energy that we are to getting members on board, and really devote the energy that we can to providing solutions to schools. And so we're real forthright. That's my goal, is to stop recruiting. We need to get over 200 members. So we've got some work to do. We've got a lot of folks that are interested, and I think we got a lot of folks that are afraid, and we would love to get beyond some of that stuff so that we can do the right things for schools. So I'll shut up. The questions that we kind of came up with are, but please don't use this as a kickoff, is what should we continue doing? What are we not doing? What do we need to stop doing? On the policy legislation, what concerns do you have? And then we'll review the objectives and discuss next steps at the end. Don't all jump at once.
Brent, for us at El Reno, the professional development that we've got through the Public School Resource Center, at a very limited cost to the district. You got to keep doing that. Project Lead the Way has transformed our early elementary into pocket protecting wearing.
That's great.
IT geek, so we're incredibly happy with the professional development. So you got to keep doing that.
What other things are working? You guys warm up, you find out you won't hurt my feelings.
One of the things that we're not taking advantage of that we should be is the website offering. The reason we're not is because we're kind of in a 2-year deal or 3-year deal where we're getting it free, but that's getting ready to fall off. But you saved us $45,000 this week, because I had in my hand the PO to sign for online continuous 24-hour enrollment, and one of our people talked to Ben, and that's something that Google Docs will do for us.
If you're not using Google, I get everything that we run this office on this on my wife's old phone. iPhones don't go swimming with them, but that's my second phone this summer. My wife loves. Yeah, we do everything in Google. I'm a big fan of eating your own dog food, so if we're telling schools to use Google Docs and to use everything, we have a refrigerator in our server room because we don't have any servers. Might be a few adult beverages in the refrigerator there behind the locked door. But that's a philosophy that we have of, hey, if we want schools to be using new technologies, we should be using it as well. So whether you call my office phone or my cell phone, it rings here because the office phone links into our phone because we use an online provider. We use Google Docs, and Gmail, and Google Sheets, and what other apps? We use a tool that tracks all of our interactions with schools, a customer relationship management tool. It has an app. I can literally, and I unfortunately do, leave my computer at home quite a bit, and I can do everything I need to on my phone. Or I can just grab another Chromebook that we have sitting around and get everything. So we try to be, stewards of that technology so that we can tell you how to use it as best as possible.
You just said online.
Yeah.
So let me explain what this is. And it's something that I've worked on for a little bit, and I think we finally hammered it out. So it's a Google, basically using Google Forms. What we do is we take and we figure out all the fields on all the forms that you have, and we rebuild your forms in a Google Doc. Okay. And then what we do is we can give you essentially an online form that your parents can fill out. It asks for their address one time. It asks for their phone number one time. And then when they hit submit, it's going to copy it, put it in all those documents. in the appropriate places. Now, and we actually started this with over here with Kingfisher, and finally have got all the wrinkles ironed out. The only thing that you can't do is take like a social security number through it. So basically, what it'll do is it'll take all that information, put it in a form, and you can just then print it out and have them write in their social where it belongs, sign the docs, and then so instead of parents having to fill out that name and address 30 times, they can just do it once, write in those socials or anything that's secure, and then move on. So it's just going to make hopefully enrollment a whole lot easier, and then it also gives you all of that information that those people are putting in, puts it into a spreadsheet as well. So you actually have it in a database that you can go back and pull, and you can pull a CSV, import it right into your student information system.
Oh, that's what it imports into like Infinite Campus.
You should be able, I can talk to you about, we can work on how we can make that happen. And so the goal of it is just to make life simple and easier for you. Now there's one catch with this. There's some documents that have to go to the state, and they don't allow you to make your own version of that document. So there's going to be 1 or 2 documents that the parents are going to have to hand fill out. But obviously,
so that's my job. So I can go, but I can talk about it.
You can talk about it. And that would be terrific, and I would champion that. But we can
more members, and I can go do my job.
But through that process, we can cut down on the amount of time and the amount of work that your people are doing for enrollment and try to lighten that load. So we're starting this with El Reno. We're going to give it the first shot here, and then we'll let this thing grow and breathe. So.
What hasn't worked?
One of the things we got positive feedback on was we ran a bond election in April. Ben came out and videoed myself, principals, some parents, teachers, created a website. We had all the documents, the tax impact documents, building plans, and those videos. And we got great feedback on that. I think that was instrumental in just getting the word out that they could share it through social media.
How many schools? Well, actually, Ben will say this himself, but Ben is on the cusp of being put into the bond issue passing Hall of Fame because he's batting 1,000. We haven't had one fail yet, and he Sulphur, Craig, Arapahoe Butler,
and Davis,
and we've gone into some schools that don't traditionally pass bond issues that really blew it out of. I mean, we're talking. He hasn't been. Arapahoe Butler was at 68%. That was the lowest percentage we had, and it may have been because of the looks of the superintendent. But we're not going to say anything about that. But no, seriously.
We come out with videotapes so you as the superintendent, whoever's the best spokesperson on these issues can explain what the issues are. We create a real simple website. We put the ballot there, and here's how to vote, and the directions. So then you can send that out on social
media. And then your local newspaper puts the address in there in the news, and it is amazing the number of hits you'll get.
The hard thing is you can't, as we all know, you can't really advertise it and be vocal about, go vote yes for our bond. That's something you can't do legally. But we can come in and we can come through and we can say, hey, go vote on this date. And then what we like to do is, the decrepit situation of your buildings or how bad the situation is from a technology standpoint. What we like to do is just come out and get it on video so people can see it. A lot of times you tell people, hey, our kids are having to use old computers, and they're probably thinking, so what? I've got an old computer, But when they see your kids using like a 12-year-old computer that takes 5 minutes to boot up, and yeah, it won't stay on. They've got the tube monitor, or like in Davis, where literally the wall was coming apart from the foundation and there was daylight. People don't understand how bad the situation is until you show them the visual. So we kind of help you tell that story and get it into people's heads that you're not doing this because you just want to pass a bond, but you're doing it because you have a need. So
what's the cost?
That's free.
That's free. Megan's in the back as well. There's one other thing we forgot to talk about. So Megan, we brought on. Megan's Hazel's mom. Hazel was my 3-year-old daughter's friend a couple of years ago. And we needed a little bit of help, and Megan was looking to get back to the workforce, and came on board just part-time, and then she turned into a hurricane. called it. So we threw all kinds of, it was really hard and no one else wanted to do it. We made Megan do it. So the State Department about, what, a year ago, came calling and said, hey, we need help in building an out-of-school time expanded learning offering. They had a partnership with the Mott Family Foundation for this wonderful town called Flint, Michigan, which I happen to grow up in. Total coincidence. And so that sounds hard and we don't have any time to do it, so let's make Megan do it. And so we ended up getting a $15,000 grant that covered travel, and we had to travel. Now launch, Megan has launched it. This is now, we're the fiscal agents for this, and Megan's housed here, but it's a whole new, ultimately, a nonprofit called the Oklahoma Partnership for Expanded Learning. Why don't you give a quick commercial, because this is another way we can partner.
Right, so what we're looking at is how do we help your after-school programs? Whether, I think the traditional thought is after school you just give them a ball into a gymnasium and just let them play. What we can actually do is help the quality of the program so that it can tie in with the school day as well. So when Lori was talking about her dashboard, what are those 25 students that are at risk? Well, what can we do with those after-school programs to help to give some of those supports to those teachers in an informal setting so that it kind of resounds in a different way for a student. And so looking at that. And like Brent said, it's a statewide organization. Really what we're trying to do is look at the 30,000-foot level of what's going on for providers. Meals, snacks, after-school snacks and after-school meals are a barrier that a lot of program providers have in actually being able to give meals to their participants. So we're looking at that. Sustainability of the program. So once they actually get the programs going, how do they sustain them, and how can you help with community partners to build those programs in your area? And then just kind of looking at how we can assist with that. At this point, we're looking at trying to do some professional development in the future. We're still in the process of developing that, but what does that program structure look like? Curriculum development for your students. Again, in an informal setting, not trying to compete with teachers in any way, shape, or form, but just try to complement what they're doing in the school day to tie it in during the after-school hours to help with that as well. So that's something that we're in the process of working on.
What help do you need? What can we do?
My ours would be on school improvement. You know, basically, say, hey, here's your data. You've got 10 days to respond. We respond, they write back and say, we're sorry, we can't make any corrections. Well, why did you ask us for corrections? Well, that's just part of what we have to do. And so then, you know, you find out a month later you're designated because maybe some subgroup at the second grade level didn't read like they needed to read. Well, you know, the problem is 10% of the schools in the state have to be labeled as a focus. And next year, I would assume that, you know, as third graders, that subgroup's still not going to be able to read any better because, you know, maybe it's his brother and sister that's on an IEP, and, you know, we've got 15 kids in the class, and, you know, 2 of those make it. I mean, 2 in that subgroup, which maybe there's only 3 in the subgroup total. You know, they're never going to get on. So, you know, basically, you know, you talk to the State Department. Well, what do we need to do? Well, we really haven't made the plans yet. This is kind of a new program. So, you know.
But we'll label you.
Yeah, but, you know, we need to have you do this end of the year report. We haven't done anything. Well, we understand that. That's why we're doing end of the year report, not the beginning of the year report. So, I mean, I guess basically from our standpoint, it would be a buffer that may get in there and understand, you know, what are they looking at? What are they trying to do? Where are we going with this?
Yeah, and you're not the first one that's had that request. We've been working in Marble City. We started the process with Reno to begin building. We've got a data map system, and we're, like Boyd was talking about, curriculum audits.
Right.
That's something we're really working on between teaching and learning and myself, because those are important. And then the NWEA, on that end, we can use that to show the student improvement. But finally, that end of year test is going to be the biggest thing. But we can help you do that. We just got to have data to do it. We have a way where we can take the data, scramble it up, unscramble it, make it to where it's understandable, and even get into the ethnicity. It's not a real hard process.
So you're asking for support of the plans, you're asking for sort of helping us speak. We can help speak bureaucrat, go up and talk to them and say,
Well, and I guess probably more or less is the liaison between, I mean, you know, here's the rules that I think are new, just been established from what I gathered. You know, you got the State Department that you talk to a person that, you know, is kind of your helper that's really nice, but we really don't know because we haven't had that meeting yet. So, you know, and so I'm basically stuck with, you know, let's talk to the board over something that nobody can explain to us.
Yeah. I mean, you know, bureaucracies have, right? But I think that Superintendent Hoffmeister is pretty open. And I mean, every time we've reached out to the State Department, we've had a bit. So,
yeah, it hadn't been adversarial at all.
Yes, but if we can help, you know, yeah, even if it's nice as it's crushing you, it's still not, you know, helpful. So, so if we can help them out, I'm going up and educate them.
And we've done that this year. We had to go, we visited for one of our schools that didn't make maintenance of effort due to a financial issue they had 2 years ago. And we've got some trailing there. And Matt Older has been good work.
So I guess, you know, from my standpoint, you know, it would probably be someone who can see the big picture. You know, this is what's going into it. This is where we want to go. You can come out and sit down with us and devise a plan on how we get there. You know, rather than wait until November and seeing what the test results are again to see that you're back on the. You know, I mean, it's just,
yeah, I mean, as much as possible, we want to partner and be an extension of the State Department. You know, that's why a lot of our training standards we're doing as much as we are. So, you know, that's again, it's relationship based. We've got to prove to them that, you know, that we can work and be reasonable. Yeah, more than we can do helpful.
Yeah, the last 15 months have been totally different.
Yeah.
I mean, more that. Yes. I'm not.
Yeah.
You know, just trying to find, you know, exactly on the way.
One of the things you guys did for us, just on internal school improvement, we wanted to raise our reading scores, and we haven't bought reading curriculum in a long time, you know, for various reasons. But you guys sent someone, Jason's mom actually, came to our district for 3 days and worked with each of my elementary principals because we had a gap between first grade and second grade in the data, and I knew something was wrong. But I couldn't quite put my finger on it. It was either in the instruction, in the curriculum, in the, you know, somewhere. But she came out and worked with the principals, and it was really, really nice to have just an outside set of eyes looking in, totally objective and saying, this is where the problem is.
Yeah.
So, and it worked. So our reading scores improved significantly. So I do attribute part of that to that. So that was really good.
Yako rules the regional developers with an iron fist.
Yes.
Regional developer, and we also have, where she's a reading coach as well. So, and reading coaches, they also go to your school to meet the RSA.
If you don't know who your regional developer is, please
Yeah, let us know.
We want those regional developers to be meeting with folks, well, at least twice a year.
At
right?
least twice a year.
I think one thing you might want to think about on curriculum, and I know we put a lot on Ben's plate, but there are some online textbooks out there because you don't have textbooks, guys. Yeah. And
I mean, what's the name of that resource? It's free.
So CK12 has textbooks, and you can put in your state, and it will give you a book aligned by standard. And if not, they have Common Core standards that you obviously know how to translate those to. And you can build them. They're free. The state of Utah actually didn't have money for books, and they actually printed out those books and handed them out to all their schools because they found printing them was cheaper than buying books. And so you can do them online. They have online and interactive, or you can just download the PDFs and print them yourself, or however you want to do it. But it's completely free. And I have 2 or 3.
CK12 is an organization that's been bugging me and our foundation's bugging funding. If I get more requests that we need to be aligned to standards, then that gets me.
I also have 3 or 4 other sites similar to that. They don't have as expansive library as CK12, but they have some more specialized areas.
Math is good.
Yeah, so I know one where we can get that, and there's also one at New York that does a lot of English literature, and so that's available as well. So
we should probably do a newsletter.
And CK12 is free. Really?
Yeah.
2 things.
Your kids can actually get it on.
when CK12, a kid can create an account.
Yep.
And they do like their own tutorials.
Yep. It's like Khan Academy now. They've got interactive video pieces and entire textbooks. And you can create what they call flex books. So you could actually go through and say, in my textbook, I want this standard, this standard, this standard, this standard, this standard, and then give me a textbook with that in it. I don't want to cover X, Y, Z. So you can customize it as much as you want. And if you want training on how to do that,
you do.
We can do that.
I think Putnam City has done quite a little bit with CK12.
It's wonderful.
Two things. The first one in regards to support is early childhood. That's an area that I'm finding that we have kind of the least amount of experience. We have a lot of people who have some general knowledge about elementary literacy, but not many people that know early literacy. And finding resources for early literacy has been pretty rough for us. So that would be helpful. And the other one is, and this may not be popular in a group full of superintendents, but I don't know if anybody else dreads the superintendent's evaluation, but I do, because it's useless. And if you'd really like to grow and your board can't give you any feedback, what do you do?
Is that governance board training cover that?
No,
we could make.
Yeah,
Carol can cover that.
Yeah, well, and my biggest concern is my board, and I don't want to say they don't have the capacity, because they might have the capacity, but.
Well, and I think one of the
I don't know how better to say. You know, it's this double-edged sword. Be careful with Jasper, right? You don't want them too informed, but you want them informed. And I think really what would help me grow more is like a 360 evaluation, like where I got feedback from parents and from my teachers and from my administrators and from my board.
And you can actually construct that to make it.
Well, I am in the process of constructing it for myself because I just refuse to have another useless.
Yeah, we can help you put that together with Google Forms.
Yeah.
Yes.
But that would be helpful for me.
We've done a nice custom 360
And I
at me.
created ours for him.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll call you. I mean, seriously, because I hate the process because it just, I give them this stuff and they say, oh, you're great. And they just don't know. Which I know, yeah, I know. That's why I said it's not popular. But if you like to
some of it's not, yeah, you're great.
I do a whole
really
training
gives
session.
confidence.
So if you want to do it as a teacher,
One thought, I mean, we've done extensive work with boards, and Jeff, we need to talk later. We've had all kinds of fun with boards too. I'll tell you this, 360 is great, but part of the challenge is that if you get into group thing, there's the 360 will just be a cacophony of that same thing. And so you've got to be able to have an absolute standard, and to the extent you work with the board on a vision, mission,
right,
those types of things, and you quantify and have metrics, then in a lot of respects, the 360 is more a function of the way you're delivering what you're doing, necessarily what you're doing. And so that's the big challenge is that you might be the greatest person in the world in every shape or fashion, but if your group doesn't understand what you do, how you do it, and they haven't agreed on metrics, you'll never make it happen. Kind of like getting married. No, I'm sure nobody has that problem there.
Well, and I am more concerned about the how I conduct my business and not necessarily the goals. You know, because I can think that I'm reaching every teacher, and I think, surely you know that. Like I've said it 50 times, you know, but and I never see it translate into something, or I walk in classrooms and it looks totally different.
But the problem is boards don't do a good job of discerning between what and how. They just, the sad part is that it's how they feel, and heaven help us when that happens.
Then let me make this a little clearer then. I would much rather have the feedback for myself and less for my board evaluation. Like I'll go through the whatever for my board evaluation and get the rubber stamp. But if I want to grow and be better, I'd rather have the feedback than separate of that.
So the question is, do you guys do coaching?
Thank you.
He can't coach.
I'm the office mascot, but we have smart people.
Carol's really good at coaching.
Okay.
Yeah, Carol's good.
Go to her directly and say, here's my problem. How do I deal with this? She's working.
My problem is I don't know my problems.
Well, see,
I mean, that really is what it is.
Which is the beginning of wisdom.
Yeah, I don't know my problems.
well, see, that's real good with Andy and Carol to be asked because they both come from different areas. So it's easy. It's good to go to Andy and go, here's this, and this will work on this.
Okay.
Yeah, we just-
Okay, so I don't want to keep people from lunch. I do want to, and maybe if it's easier just for folks to come, individually. I know there's a perception out there that we get some type of hidden agenda. I would love that if folks, if there are ways that we can counter that, that'd be great. So, and then I also want to talk about like what are next steps for this group. Is this helpful? I feel like we did a lot of talk and action. I don't want to be a salesperson anymore. I want to be a solutions person. So let's just throw that out there. Folks, we can continue the conversation.
Well, I'm just saying that the perception problem, I think, is fixing itself. I mean, just by the boots on the ground.
Yep.
And references from us. I mean, I spoke to our Lincoln County group about you guys, and I think just about that. And I brought up the perception issue.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to take care of itself. I think so.
Jay continues to take some shots out from some of his friends.
Yeah, well, I mean, I read the scathing letter somebody sent out. I don't know who it was. Sent that out this year. I'm sure you guys were aware, but I don't remember who sent it.
Yeah, this guy that might work for a website company that.
Yes. So, I mean, I saw
and a lot of the stuff on social media, we just don't respond to
that. We get the same stuff about us.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Well, some of you guys are jerks. I'm a nice guy. No, I know. I mean, and it's one of those things like, Sarah and I each time, we get attacked, we'll sit down and we'll say, okay, this is how we're going to, and it always is helpful to type up the email, and not put any, in the 2 line and then yeah, it's frustrating.
Brent, we just joined not too long ago.
Yeah.
And really, I probably joined about the time 87 bill came out. Yeah. But here's what I say, is that I can't, even if there is some other agenda, which I don't think there is, I've satisfied myself and my board with that. It's hard to overlook everything you guys provide, even if there is some of that. And I'm smart enough, I hope, Craig, I think we're smart enough that when something happens, we can deal with it, and we're not going to get involved in something that's not good for our school. So it comes back to your people have to trust you. And I mean, it's just a tremendous opportunity for our little school to advance.
So that's real. I mean, Shane, if you don't mind, Shane called and shared some disagreements with 1187. And I told him why we did it, and then Shane shared a letter.
I think it was a great thing when you started. You got advocates.
And there was a lot of fear and sure. Yeah, I mean, I can show you the scars later if you like, but I'll go get my kimono. But yeah, I mean, look, we don't want to, we came into the state when you guys were getting beat up, right? And I moved here 3 years ago in September, and I saw how that type of leadership works. It's not our approach, and unfortunately, we only do that, right? But so I'm glad to hear this. That we can fight that just by.
One of the things that always people always hit me with is this attachment to the Walton family, in much Kyler. What?
Did they mention the other foundations?
Well, I mean, they only see in much, or they only see Walton. And my answer to that every single time has been, well, you guys are, I mean, I'm friends with Sandy Gary. She's a reference for me today. Her birthday party was sponsored by Advanced Academics, or which the birth epic 101 from $7 million. But that's a whole different story. But my point is that who's sponsoring all the other organizations that we belong to? Who's sponsoring COSA this last week? Somebody's putting up that corporate sponsorship, whether it's, and they have their agenda, right? That's what I always ask is, who's sponsoring OSSBA's fall conference? It's somebody. Somebody's got the big sponsorship. So I just figured, I don't know anybody at the Kaiser Foundation, but I know Brent Bushy, and When I call and he's on a boat in Panama City,
Never been to Panama.
and he says, hold on, let me put my fishing rod down and then I'll get you that. That's what I need. That's what I need. I need that contact. It's another way. It's another tool for me. I don't know who Pearson is sponsoring today. I don't know who McGraw-Hill is sponsoring tomorrow. But I do know that if I call Brett Bushy, he's going to tell me I can't help you with that, or let me find somebody, or this is what I would do. So I'm not going to apologize for my membership. Our board trusts that we're getting something from that money. And it's very easy for me to say, when our principals come up here and they get with Ben and they solve a problem, or they go to Project Lead the Way, it's been benefited. It's worth the money, and it's worth that little bit of kicking the shin from my colleagues sometimes. I kind of like to fight sometimes.
Really? All right, so in terms of next steps, I'd like to suggest we'd like to start doing this on a quarterly basis. That may be too frequent, but I think in the short run, it's helpful for us to get feedback. We'll try and do more online, but if you don't mind coming into the city, it's always nice to see your face. We can do barbecue or Ted's or whatever you guys like for lunch. Are there other things that you as a group would like to do? We talked about, should we try and create like a board with titles? And you guys have enough titles? If you really want that, let us know. But more, it's a chance for us to gather and to get some feedback. So we'll try and solicit the date, because I know OSAC's going on right now. I was up there last night. That was not intentional. It was a week and a half ago when I figured that out. I was like, oh God, we can't cancel this now. So we'll try and avoid, for the last 2 years, Mark Montrose has told me, well, this isn't a good time of year. I'm like, okay, 2 years in, what's a good time of year for school leaders? So I start giving up on that. But that's the, if that works for everyone, that's what I think we have to start doing. Cool. Ted, south side, Matt, give us directions. Oh, yeah, you have to sign in before you get through.
Make sure you sign in.
So where do I sign up for the dashboard and for the enrollment?
I was gonna have a purpose. The dashboard's teeny on here, so I'm gonna throw it on.
Yeah. You want to put it up here?
Oh, yeah, I can. So, yeah, it's just too little to see on here.
So Brent, you want them to come back in here?
Yeah, here you spread out, enjoy the space.
A handful of schools,
Yeah.
if you guys want to do a website,
Yeah.
I got just a couple of questions.
Yeah.
Who hosts that?
We do.
And my domain name, will I be able to keep?
Yes.
Okay, all right, good. Another thing, I think you and Carol are coming out to our school during in-service.
Take care of this. Oh, I will. He's not very smart.
That's right. You got that right, without a doubt. But you guys are coming out, and I know you're going to do like a half a day of Google Docs and Google stuff with our teachers. We're kind of starting to do Chromebooks and stuff, and then she's going to do some stuff on standards. I would like to send my 2 building principals up here prior to that to kind of talk about some of the stuff, and that way maybe you can direct your professional development to my teachers.
Yes, no, absolutely. I would love to do that.
Is there some times, or do I just need to email you?
Just email me and tell me, hey, these are dates that work for my people, and then I'll make one of them work for sure.
And on the website deal, I'm trying to get the stuff gathered up for you that you need, and we'll do the best we can. What I was hoping for is that you could just go to our current website and take a lot of links off of there, because we got a lot of information listed on there. And I had a guy, when he built that thing for us, I just gave him a sheet of links to, I want something about this, something about this, something about this, and then
we try to do that. The problem is we're doing websites right now for about 23 schools, and so if we don't have the information, it really slows us down. Like we don't have it like in a central place where we can go pull it all.
Yeah.
But if you just do the best you can, try to get it, and then if you go, hey, all the links for this are on this page, and all the links for this are on this page, we can make that work.
And I could send you, I could even send you copies of links in a Word document or something.
That'd be good. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, great.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna get them hooked up with you.
Yeah.
I'd like for my principals to come up here and spend a little time with you prior to you coming out.
Yeah,
Okay?
absolutely.
All right.
And then, like I said, I'm in the middle of adding all our Google stuff online. And so, if your principals or your teachers want to spend time before then, they got time over the summer, want to log in and look and just play. They absolutely can.
Okay, good deal. Now, and see, we're switching over our store. We contract tech services through the company down in Nennecaw, and he's switching us all over to Google emails and Gmail and all that stuff. And I'm hoping to have all that ready to go before school starts.
If you need help with that.
Okay, well, I may put him in contact with you too if he has any questions.
Yeah, if there's something I can do. Absolutely.
We're real excited about that. But I'm telling you right now, I'm not very smart. I've been superintendent for 18 years, and I'm at the end of my rope. But I want our school to keep going, you know. So,
hey, well, that's what we're here for, to provide support.
Okay, well, I'm going to have them, I'm going to email you and find out some possible dates that I can send my principals up here for some time. And you just, I don't want them overwhelmed, but I do want them to understand